Justice Thomas is facing more scrutiny over his mega donor fan buying his mom's house for him.
Justice Clarence Thomas is facing questions again about his failure to disclose transactions with a Republican megadonor. A new report by ProPublica details a 2014 real estate deal in which Harlan Crow's company paid $133,000 to Thomas and his family to buy the home where the justice's mother lived. Like the luxury vacations uncovered by ProPublica last week, the sale went unreported on Justice Thomas's financial disclosure forms. Gabe Roth is the executive director of Fix the Court, a group that advocates for court reforms, and joins us now. So, Gabe, this $133,000 transaction between Justice Thomas and Harlan Crow, which Justice Thomas didn't disclose as the law requires, this marks the first known instance of payments between the two men. What are the implications?
Well, it appears from what we know so far, and I think there's more information that's going to be coming out in terms of how exactly the $133,000 was delineated or just divided between the Thomas family and among the properties. But the federal law is very clear. It says that to follow the financial disclosure law that was passed in 1978 after Watergate, filers, including Supreme Court justices, have to provide a brief description, a date, and the value of any purchase, sale, or exchange of real estate that exceeds $1,000. So this is obviously more than $1,000. Even if you divide the property up several ways, it's more than $1,000. So this is a violation of that statute, and there should be repercussions for that.
Yeah, because if it was any other citizen, they would have gotten a lot of jail time for getting hundreds of thousands of dollars and gifts and stuff and not reporting it to the government.
If Justice Thomas had reported it, would that have put him in the clear, ethically speaking, or do you see other potentially deeper ethical transgressions here in this close relationship between Justice Thomas and Harlan Crow, given that Mr. Crow has been a Republican megadonor for years?
Love the leading question. Yes, I think that's pretty clear that I think there's more than just the statutory violation on the real estate. I mean, the $500,000 valued trip via private plane and yacht to Indonesia and the trips to New Zealand and East Texas and upstate New York. I mean, there's nothing like this on the Supreme Court, at least since Scalia passed away, where you have a single individual reaping such largesse from another individual, the latter being the one giving the gifts, having a clear political bent and wanting the court to do certain things, even if he might not have had any cases. So I think we should be expecting more ethically from our justices, and it's a real shame that what we have shown over the course of several weeks with these ProPublica reports is that our justices are just thumbing their nose to whatever ethical, very weak, but whatever ethical rules exist, and that we're not in the good place when that's happening.
Yeah, because a $500,000 vacation is almost twice as much he makes a year, which is almost $300,000, like $285,000 a year. So actually that is twice as much as he makes. It's the mega donor is definitely not doing that just, out of the kindness of his heart, and he just wants to have some fun with Clarence Thomas. No, he's doing it because he's bribing him.
Well, we should say the Supreme Court did not immediately respond to our request for comment, but Mr. Crow told ProPublica in a statement that he bought the property because his intention is to one day create a public museum at the Thomas home dedicated to telling the story of our nation's second black Supreme Court justice. Do Mr. Crow's intentions take away from Justice Thomas's obligations to report the sale?
I don't think so. I don't care how generous Harlan Crow thinks he is in being this philanthropist. That's, he also put up some money for a library wing in Savannah named after Thomas. He turned the cannery where Thomas's family worked into a museum outside Savannah in a place called Pinpoint where Thomas was born. It doesn't interest me that he's using his wealth to be quote unquote philanthropic with regards to Thomas's story. The fact that a single individual is spending hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, helping out a guy on the Supreme Court just that sentence. I mean, forget all the other details. Someone is spending millions of dollars to assist somebody on the Supreme Court with something. That in and of itself is enough to raise a ton of ethical questions. And I really think we might only be scratching the surface here. I would expect more details to be coming out about not only Thomas, but some of the other justices, right? I think there's now a cottage industry. It used to be just me, but I think now there's a cottage industry of individuals who are looking into the justices. And remember, there are 2,500 lower court judges too, into the justices and judges' pasts and their financial disclosures to see if our top legal officials at a time when the courts have outsized power, to see if these officials are in fact being fully honest and ethical and following the letter of the disclosure and ethics laws.
Good, yeah. We should have a massive investigations on all of them, especially these Supreme Court justices, to make sure they're all following the laws and not taking bribes, and those that are breaking laws should be punished harshly. And we should change the Supreme Court to where there's term limits and it's people that are elected into their positions.
At the start of our conversation, you said that there should be repercussions, but there is no way to enforce Supreme Court justices to comply with disclosure laws, and short of impeachment, there's no penalty that's applicable to them. So what then is the remedy?
I mean, honestly, I think we've reached the point where the Attorney General should appoint a special counsel. So there is within the financial disclosure law the ability for either the head of the Judicial Conference, which depending on how you read it is either a judge out in Oklahoma or Chief Justice Roberts himself, or the head of the Department of Justice to bring an investigation, to refer this issue for an investigation, and that could lead to up to a $50,000 fine, which probably not going to happen, or even up to a year in prison for falsifying records willfully. I don't know if this is willful or not. I don't know if I assume Justice Thomas is probably willfully doing it, but I think we need to have some sort of investigation. And I know we probably have special counsel fatigue in this country right now, but I don't see anyone else, not Merrick Garland, who almost was on the Supreme Court, not the members of the Judicial Conference who don't want to piss off their fellow justices. I think that you're going to have some neutral third party investigate this, because we really don't know the extent of this ethical issue. But at the very least, everyone who's talking about it realizes that it's a major problem, and it's really impugning the integrity of our top court at a time when the court, especially after the leak and all these opinions reversing precedent, can least afford to fall even lower in the public's esteem.